Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'll be showing you how I paint a blue tint using gouache. I'm painting a watercolor paper. To begin with, I tone it using a wash of leftover gouache. It is important that this wash is very watery, so that it will not be picked up when I paint over it later. The goal of toning the canvas for me is not to have it show through at the end, but just to create a more comfortable painting experience, as pure white tends to look distracting to me when I'm mixing colors. At this point, I noticed that the paper was warping from all the water, so I taped it down some more, in order to get a flatter working surface. Then I begin with the sketch. First, I use a 2B pencil to block in the general proportions. Then I switch to a 5B pencil to lay a more detailed drawing over it. Before I begin painting, I give the paper a once-over with a blow dryer to make sure that it's completely dry. I also prepare my color palette. As you can see, I'm using an always wet palette, which has gotten a bit messy. It hasn't been long since I bought this one, as I used a self-made one before. And I don't know if this is normal or if I used too much water, but the colors on it got a bit watery and spilled everywhere. Alas, I think it still works fine. As long as I don't scrape too hard, I don't pick up the old colors. I only put my pigments straight out of the tube on here. I do my mixes on a separate palette. Today I'm using ultramarine blue, primary red, lemon yellow, cadmium-free lemon, sap green, burnt umber, permanent white, and ivory black from Winsor&Newton's designer Gouache series. As usual, I begin with the sky. It's a really bright blue, so I was hesitant to add too much white to it. But as you can see, the initial mix dried dark as hell, because gouache is the paint of the devil. So I added more white and it dried into a nice strong sky blue. I always love blocking in the sky. Seeing the solid negative space surrounding the subject is so satisfying. On the bird, I begin with the darkest value, because this is usually easier to color match. I try to go as dark as possible, because it will dry lighter anyway, since it's gouache. Then I put down the shadow color for the blue tit's pretty little cap. I'll paint over this with a lighter blue later. Next I block in the body. I figured the shadow would be relatively greenish at first, but it was warmer than I expected, so I had to adjust my color. Up until this point, I was using lemon yellow mixed with other colors, but for the highlight I switched over to cadmium-free cadmium lemon, as I needed the opacity. I try to use this paint as little as possible because it is very expensive. However, as you can see, it is a beautiful color. The next step is blocking in the grays on the face and the butt feathers just above the tail feathers. Then I block in the branches. I try to use slight variations of green to make them look more interesting. The last step is to lay down the shadow color for the little feet. I love small birds' feet. They look like they're little rubber bands when they're clutching onto something. Now that all the major colors are blocked in, I can begin with the detail. I switch to a small round brush and draw in the highlights on individual feathers. This really brings out the fluffiness of the bird. I mix a strong blue for the cap as I want the blue tit's namesake to shine in all its glory. The eyes are the scariest part to do, but I still love painting them. Once the eyes are done, the subject really comes to life. In particular, the little light reflected on the eyeball adds so much. I always have to tell myself not to overdo it. I continue to add fluffiness with small lines. The edges between colors require particular care. Here I place lines in the color from either side to make the transition softer. I'm mostly done with the bird now, so I grab a slightly frayed flat brush to add some texture and contrast to the branches. They don't need to be too detailed though, as they're not the focus. Lastly, I darken the right side of the blue tit a bit, because the original color dried too light for my liking. Then we are finished. It is finally time for the most satisfying part, removing the tape. I use a blow dryer to heat up the glue under the tape in order to remove it as gently as possible and reduce the risk of tearing. And there we have it, an adorable little blue tit in gouache. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you could learn something from it, or at the very least relax while watching me paint. I hope to see you again next time.